Greetings, Namibia and the world. Welcome to your talk show, Scaling New Heights. I am your host, Tandiwe Ndlovu, and today we are joined by a young Tanzanian entrepreneur, Mrs Hadija Jabiri. Mrs Hadija, welcome to our talk show.
Thank you so much for inviting me to your talk show. It's really a great honor to join you today. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Ms. Hadija, you are the founder of Eat Fresh Tanzania and AgriDo Ltd. You hold a bachelor's degree in business administration and accounting. You registered your business in your first year of university at only the age of 19 with the intent to venture into the manufacturing business, which you then later diverted into horticulture. You also, where you are succeeding and doing very well, serving the Tanzanian market as well as the international market. When we walk through your journey, we see that you're such an admirable woman doing great things and exporting your products to international markets. Can you briefly walk us through your journey as an entrepreneur?
Thank you so much for a very good question. My journey started many years back. Actually, my journey started from when I was a teenager. I am coming from a very normal Tanzanian family, a middle-class family. My father is a government servant, but my mother has been doing small businesses. But growing up, I really wanted to go into business, believing that was the right way for me to make money, be able to support my family, as well as supporting myself. So my very first business, I remember, was selling sanitary pads. And that is way back when I was in secondary school. Actually, my mom used it to think that I was having my periods, my days. So she was giving me packets of sanitary pads, and unfortunately, I was not having my days. So whenever I went to boarding school, I used to sell those sanitary pads, and because I was making money, so I kept on selling and selling. And the feeling of making your own money was really good as a very young girl. So I kept on doing it, selling a lot of things on my journey. But when I was in first year university, it's when I decided to go into business officially. So I registered a business name for the company which I am running until this time, Jabiri Business Solutions. And back then, dreams were to go into manufacturing. And why manufacturing? It's because I used it to read books, and I was really inspired by the story of Aliko Dangote, him being into manufacturing. So I said, if I go into the same path, I will end up being maybe the first Tanzanian who will be a billionaire in Africa. Actually went into manufacturing. So I started a small factory, and that business did not succeed. I decided to leave it. I went into microfinance. I registered a microfinance under the same company. This was the second business. It also didn't succeed. I believe if I choose a business to do, it needs to give me three things. It needs to make me money, it needs to make me happy, but also it needs to make me grow. With the microfinance, as much as it was making me money, but I had no proper systems and structures. So most of the time I was the one going to collect money from the people we were giving money, the women who were giving money. And that was a really hectic job. So because I was not happy, I decided to let it go. But later on, I saw opportunities in agriculture, and I decided to go into it. So my journey started a really long time ago, since when I was 12 years old. That's when I went to secondary school, and I have been into that journey until this time.
Profound. That is actually quite interesting. We see that you did a bachelor's degree in business administration and accounting. How then did you find yourself in the agricultural sector, and how did you maneuver your way in the horticulture industry?
Yeah, so after trying manufacturing and seeing it was not working the way I expected, actually I could not raise the funding I wanted to invest into the business. At that time, it was 2012, I was 22 years old, and I was looking for 100,000 USD, which was like 150 million Tanzanian shillings. I had no collaterals, I had nothing, and no financial institution was willing to give me that amount of money with just a business plan. So after failing into that on my first venture, I went into my microfinance, as I said, but it didn't work as well. And I started exploring opportunities. And somehow one day I was watching a TV program. The host was showcasing some successful stories of horticulture farmers, and it kind of captured my attention. I decided to learn more about it. So I started visiting those people who were featured on that TV program, and I learned what they were doing. I found it was really interesting to see someone making a lot of money on horticulture, and somehow I believed I could actually do the same. So in 2014, I decided to move from Mwanza, where I used to stay. I came to southern part of Tanzania, specifically Iringa, and that horticulture business started at that time. And one thing which really motivated me was the fact that people are eating. I remember I used to say, it's easy for a person to not buy a shirt, but it's not possible for a person to go the whole day without eating. So I somehow believe it's something which could actually make me. That's how I found myself into agribusiness.
Right. Before we delve more into your current business, what are some of the lessons that you learned from your previous ventures, and what are some of the challenges that you faced in your previous ventures that helped you manage your current business better?
A lot of challenges. I faced a lot of challenges, but the first one, I knew nothing about what I was doing. I was very new into manufacturing, and I think I was not learning enough. I was not giving it much time to understand the business. I know if I understood what I was doing, maybe I would just get to a point where I would have started small. And as I said, I was actually looking for $100,000, which was a lot of money for me back then. And that was because I didn't believe on starting small, but now with what I am doing, it really started small. And I would say it's a lesson which I got from the previous venture, but also people management. I had issues managing employees. I also believed I could make it by myself. So I was not investing my time on forming some good relationships. I thought it was just a one-woman show, and it didn't work.
That is actually quite interesting that we need to build relationships in the essence of relationships when it comes to business, right? You speak a lot about how you struggled with finances for your business. How did you then manage to get the funding that you needed to start?
Yeah, so after failing in these two business, I actually had literal savings from the previous businesses. And when I came to Iringa to start agribusiness, that's what I used it to set up the initial investment. It was not more than 5 million shillings. I'm speaking of not more than 2,000 USD. And after setting up a business, actually, I remember I came to Iringa, and it took me like 2 years to be able to start. 2016, we started with a very small farm. We were producing in like half an acre. We were growing cucumbers, capsicum, tomatoes, and we were supplying just in the local market. And whatever that I was making from the sales, I was investing it back into the business. But later on, 2 years later, I realized what I was doing was actually creating impact to the community around me. And somehow development partners were interested with what we were doing. And I started writing proposals. Many of them were rejected. but eventually some of the development partners understood what we were doing and they decided to fund us. So we got grants, lots of grants actually. Some of the people used to call me grantpreneur, but it's the path which I really need to take. It's the path which I really needed to take until the time when we built our asset portfolio. Then we were able to go to financial institutions. So we later on managed to get funding from banks. And last year, we managed to get the equity investor. So we gave him share and he actually had to invest the resources to the company. Yeah, so that has been my funding journey. It started with the little savings, then development partners, then we are now able to go to the banks. And it's not like how it was before, actually, when I was going to the banks and they were rejecting me. Now I am grateful that because banks are seeing what we're doing, they are the one coming to see if we can be their customers. So that's how I've been able to raise resources.
Right. When you were seeking funding, you kept knocking on so many doors, seeking partners, and you were really adamant. What motivated you to keep going? Were you always convinced that this business idea would work?
Yeah, I was actually being into agriculture. As I said, I knew food is something which someone needs to eat. I believed in what we were doing. And a very fun story, actually, I remember I even went to see the Deputy Minister of Agriculture and the Minister of Agriculture back then when I was starting. And I told them, like, I'm seeing Jabiri growing, Jabiri producing for this country as well as exporting to other countries. And that Deputy Minister, he's no longer a Deputy Minister of Agriculture, but he keeps on reminding me, like, do you remember the vision you had when you were starting? You really believed in it. And just to answer your question, yes, I believed in this idea. And as much as I was getting a lot of, unfortunately, we can't support you and a lot of no's, but I still kept on knocking doors because I somehow believed one day someone will get to understand me and they will join my hands, and it happened.
You export your products to European countries. When we speak of exporting, we know that exporting products, especially food, is not an easy task. How did you manage to penetrate the international market? What was your entrance strategy?
Yeah, you're very right. It's not easy. And I think that is something which has actually made many people see me differently. As young as I am, being able to penetrate to European market is not something which is easy. And how we were able to penetrate that market, the first thing I think is just by understanding what the market wanted. And when I was doing my research on export market, I learned the market required 3 things. The first one, it was volumes. Unfortunately, it's quite hard for people to buy from you if they know you cannot supply the volumes they want, but also it's quality. They want you to supply good quality. Doesn't matter where you're coming from, you need to adhere to their standards, but also they really want you to have competitive prices. And export market, when you're exporting to Europe, for example, you are not competing with your fellow Tanzanians or your fellow Africans. It's companies from all over the world targeting the same market. So if you don't have those 3 things, definitely you won't find your way into that market. And people are always asking, like, how did you get your first customer in Europe? And my answer is always, we Googled our way to Europe. Right. We Googled our way to Europe because we leveraged technology, and we were able to get our first customer after contracting an online marketing platform. So I just Googled some online companies which are actually connecting farmers with buyers in Europe. I got one company. I paid them a very small amount of money, and they were able to give us our very first customer in Ireland. So the second part was actually trying to see how we can give the market what it wanted, the three things which I've just mentioned.
As you're speaking to me right now, I realize that this is not a task that only one person is able to do alone. I want to hear from you, how do you manage to source people, or rather get people to work for you who align with the vision of your company?
Yeah, so of course I failed to manage people on my first venture, but with companies I am managing now, of course, Agriedo Limited, the consultants company which I am running, has 9 employees, but Jabiri has 31 permanent employees, and in weekly basis we get between 150 to 200 casual workers. So it's one of the companies which are employing a quite good number of people, and I am happy for that. I wouldn't say it has been easy to get right people to work for these two companies, to join me, to build these two companies. It has been a journey. And initially, I was using the normal way of hiring employees. I would definitely put some applications out there. People would apply. Maybe it won't be coming directly from Jabiri. Maybe we'll just contract a HR company, a human resource company, to do that for us. And they would come up with shortlisted names, would interview them and get to see who will score higher. And we ended up hiring those people, but I realized it was not working for me. Now my approach has changed a bit. I am looking into character more than just the certificates. The certificates are quite important. Those prove that this person you're bringing into your organization can actually perform the job you want, but character is the most important thing. I have learned in business, there are so many things. There are times when things will be down. Like last year, of course, we had COVID, everyone understand business was not the same. So the question is, the people you are having with you can really travel, can really go with you on this journey, which is full of challenges. But also you would want a person who is, you would not want a person you need to push all the time. You would want a person with self-drive, but also a person you can trust. So for me nowadays, I'm looking much into character than the certificates. I start with character, then I go with the certificates.
That is
and I am really grateful that I have amazing team of people in both two companies, and they're really doing their best to build Jabiri and Agriedo as well.
Ms. Hadija, we see that the pandemic has really affected, almost every business has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Small businesses, even large businesses have felt the impact. Can you maybe tell us how has the pandemic affected your business?
Oh yeah, so Jabiri has been, we started by growing vegetables, adding value and supplying in the local market. 2 years we were doing that business, just focusing on the local market. From 2018, we decided to move 100% to the export market. So we were no longer in the local market. Of course, export market proved it to us that it was more profitable. And for some reasons, we thought if we focus 100% on export market, we could grow bigger. So last year, of course, very early last year, COVID-19 started, and we just got to a point where we were told borders were closed. We normally use passenger flights, and flights were no longer coming to Tanzania. Some of our customers, of course, our country did not put restrictions in terms of lockdown, but where our customers are, they had lockdown. So majority of them were out of business, and automatically we had to stop business. And I remember as much as it was a big shock to us, but also it was a big shock to farmers we're working with. Actually, I didn't mention Jabiri is working with more than 2,000 smallholder farmers, contracted smallholder farmers, and like just 30% of what we have been exporting is coming from our own farms, but the rest has been coming from outgrowers. And at that point, when COVID started, some of our outgrowers had produce on the ground, and now we already had contracts with them. And now we're at a point where we are told, like, we cannot sell what was already there. It was a big loss for the company. And because I already had contracts with these smallholder farmers, of course, I had to compensate them. So we had to pay for what we did not sell as well. We were affected. I admit that we were affected. But I believe challenges are coming to make us grow, but also challenges stimulates our minds. And for me, as much as COVID was there and it somehow killed many businesses, but for me, it made me think how we can actually overcome the challenges which were there. So we decided to do two things. Number one, as I said, we were 100% on export business. We decided to come back to the local market. And instead of focusing on vegetables only, we decided to go into fruits. So I changed the business model. Now we are buying fruits in different regions, and we are ripening these fruits and distributing to vendors. And it started from last year during COVID-19, and it's working perfectly well. We have been able to engage more than 300 smallholder farmers. We are buying fruits from them, but also we are supporting more than 350 vendors as well. But apart from that, during COVID-19, it's when my second company was born. I decided to start a new venture, which is Agreedo Limited, and it's also doing well. I'm grateful. And maybe it wouldn't have been here without COVID-19.
Right. We can always get something positive even in the midst of all the adversities that we face. Let us quickly go back to your personal life. What are some of the nuggets or values that you think have helped propel you to success?
I am a kind of person who does not give up easily. I mean, I will knock your door 10 times if you don't want to open, until the time when you say you're opening the door. Yeah. And if at all you don't open, I'll find another door and knock it until it is opened. So the first thing I would say, I'm very persistent. I don't give up easily. It doesn't matter the challenge which is ahead of me. Even if it makes me cry, I will actually cry today, and tomorrow it will be a very new day. I'll start all over, but I will definitely get a solution to whatever that is stopping me from getting where I want to go. But apart from that, I would say one of the things which have made me succeed, as much as I still have a very long way to go, is being able to have a good team. As I said, I struggled a lot with building a team. And as you know, in entrepreneurship, in business, you cannot do it alone. You really need people to support you as your employees, as stakeholders to what you're doing. So being able to bring different talents and supporting them to get to their potential, it has really helped me to get where I am. And I believe we will still do bigger things in Tanzania.
Your story shows the qualities of an astute entrepreneur. You are quick to identify opportunities and grab them with both hands and run the marathon. Tell us, how did you manage to identify the opportunity presented by the small-scale farmers as well as the untapped international market, and how did you manage to merge the two?
Thank you so much for your question. I am from, I am here in Tanzania, and as I said, I relocated from the Lake Zone to southern part of the country. And where I am actually is the place which is known as the producer of food for the country. We are producing not only maize and rice, but also when it comes to vegetables and fruits, the country is depending on southern part of the country. Is depending in this area comprises like 7 regions, and these are the food growing regions. So when I came here to start agriculture, I also learned many farmers not even enjoying their hard labor, but also me understanding the export market, understanding the demand which is there for food. Specifically on horticulture side, I decided to merge the two. Just looking at the smallholder farmers, and we decided as a company that we could engage them. What we needed to do was just making sure this horticultural produce meeting export standards, and then we were acting as a link to connect them to the market.
Right. Ms. Hadija, your name is making waves in Tanzania and in Africa. You share platforms with prominent people all over the world. Tell me, how do you handle the challenges that come with fame?
There is a saying which goes, to whom much is given, much is expected. So as a young person, doing what we are doing, getting many opportunities, but also as a woman. And because I've showed a good example to the community around me, that there is nothing which a woman cannot do. So most of the time when there is something which involves woman or a young person, it will be Hadija who is thought of. And the community around me expect much. For example, last year, I remember I was appointed as to sit on the executive committee of African Women Leaders Network Tanzania chapter. And I found myself in a space where majority top level political leaders, speaking of regional commissioners, speaking of ministers, and we even had Mama Gertrude Mongela, the icon of Africa. And it was last year, of course, even our previous vice president, who is our current president, was also involved on the movement. So me as a very young person in the group, being there, of course, it made them appoint me to lead the youth pillar. So automatically, young people in Tanzania looking up to me as an example. So whatever that I am doing, it shows them, it goes back to them. So just to answer your question, it has a lot of pressure, but also looking at it in the positive way, grow and to grow in various areas beyond agriculture, beyond my age sometimes. And I know it also inspires other young people of my age to grow with a positive story, So I am happy for the pressure I am getting because of the fame I've been able to acquire, and I am happy with all the responsibilities which are coming with the fame which I've been able to acquire.
Rising up as an African woman is not something that is easy. You get a lot of criticism from fellow women, from men as well, who might try to take advantage of you when doing business. And you face so many challenges. Maybe people expect you to be in the kitchen and not doing what you're doing. Have you faced any of such challenges, and how have you managed to overcome this?
Yeah. This is a question I always get. How are you balancing? And I always say it's very hard. For example, I am a mother of 2 beautiful children. I am married also. And in African context, most of the time, your husband would expect you to be home, taking care of the kids, but also fulfilling your responsibilities as a wife. Unfortunately, I'm also building these two companies. I'm sitting in various boards, businesses, and it's a lot of responsibilities. They all take my time. And sometimes this thing of wearing many hats at the same time as a woman, I feel like it's one thing which is like a burden to most of us, and majority of us would not go with all these hearts, being a mother, a wife, a business owner, and everything. So they, which they think they can accommodate easily to handle. First, being a young person, trust. People would ask themselves twice, do I trust her with her age? Is she as a woman? And they feel, sometimes they would feel like you might not be able to do what men are capable of doing. But right. For me, I think it's always doing best, making sure even when they don't trust me initially, but later on, because of the results I am able to bring into the table, they end up trusting me. So I prepare myself, I do extra work to make sure when we are maybe competing to close a deal, then Jabiri or Hadija is always in a very good position to do so. And even if I am not able to close a deal, I always believe I've done my best, and there is always the next deal coming. So I don't look at myself as a woman or as a young person. When I'm given a seat on the table, and I think that's the reason why I became that. I managed to get where I am, and I know I will still excel in my career as well as in business.
Right. I like the fact that you say when it's time for competition, you put aside the fact that you're a woman and the fact that you're a young person. Hadija, you're such an inspiration to so many people out there. I just want to hear from you, who inspires you and why?
A lot of people. I'm inspired by many people.
Right.
And not only people who are in a sector like mine, I'm inspired by people who are doing well wherever they are. If there is a mother who is doing her motherly duties quite well, I always get inspired. If I see a wife who is doing her wifey responsibilities quite well, I get inspired, as well as when I see a person who is doing so well in maybe in a corporate environment, I get inspired, as well as in business environment. So I have mentors. I have people who are helping me to go to the right direction. And I'm so happy that one of my mentors is actually a woman, someone who is also in business. She's also a mother. She's very successful. And most of the time when I'm facing challenges and I feel like I might not be able to get out of that particular challenge, I just call her and she will show me the right direction to overcome some of those challenges. So I'm grateful for my mentors, but also I have a person whom I call a father. His name is Mr. Geoffrey Kirenga. He's a CEO of Sagot Center Limited here in Tanzania. It's one of the big organizations. And he has always been there to encourage me, even when I come up with some ideas which might not be understood by the people around me, but he will just say, go ahead with it, just pursue it. Even if you fail, you'll definitely get your lessons. So with the mentors, teachers, but also there are so many other women leaders, whether in corporate sectors, in politics, everywhere. If I look at them and see where they are, I feel inspired, and it makes me believe that one day I'll definitely get where they are.
I love the fact that you draw your inspiration from so many people and so many different places, and I like that there are people influencing every area of your life. Now, Hadija, you are someone who is constantly looking for ways in which they can grow, in which they can develop themselves, and you don't just settle for whatever you get. I want to hear from you. Where do you see your business in the next 5 years? What is your vision for your business in the next 5 years?
Thank you so much for your question. I am so happy that 2 years back, I was actually asked the same question, and I remember I said I would want to see Jabiri employing 100 people, and back then we had like 5 employees. But as well, I remember I said I would want to see Jabiri exporting to European countries and maybe to the US. And I am happy we are currently exporting. So it's a very good question. Actually, it shows the vision, and it keeps me grounded to be able to accomplish whatever that I say. So for now, where do I see Jabiri in the next 5 years? First of all, it is geographical expansion. We are currently having operations in Jabiri operating in the whole of Southern Highlands, which has 7 regions. So first is geographical expansion, having operations in all those regions. But the second part is market expansion. We are currently exporting to European countries, but also we are in the local market. But if we look at Jabiri in the next 5 years and opportunities which are presented in the Middle East, I would also want to tap into that market, supplying the vegetables and fruits we are supplying. But also I'm really looking forward to see Jabiri having more than the 6 products we are currently having. So it's product diversification. Would want to be one place where you can get most of your horticultural produce, the vegetables and fruits. So I would want to see people having choices, and maybe that will enable us to go directly to supermarkets instead of selling to distributors, especially in European countries, but also in the Middle East, where we're looking as a potential market for us. And the last thing, I think it's enlarging the impact we are having to the community. So we are supporting more than 2,000 smallholder farmers. But I'm looking at Tanzania as a country which its agriculture is dominated by smallholder farmers. So like 80% of farmers in Tanzania, smallholder farmers, and 2,000 smallholder farmers is quite a very small number. It's not even a fraction of the demand which is out there. So we want to see Jabiri supporting more smallholder farmers, but also taking the Tanzanian flag to many other countries out. When I am in Europe, for example, or Tanzanians who are in Europe, or my fellow Africans who are in Europe, they get to see produce coming from Tanzania. They feel happy that we are branding our Africa. So I would want to see us keeping on doing that, but also inspiring many more other women, and it's nothing that they cannot accomplish. And I am happy. I'm partnering with different organizations to be able to accomplish that. So for example, I'm having a program which is supported by US Embassy, and we are training women. It's called AWE, Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, and we are training women in businesses, but also giving them funding opportunities. So basically on the business side, it's that, but me as a person, 5 years from now, I would want to amplify the impact which I am having in the community around me.
Wow, that is profound and very beautiful indeed. As we come to the conclusion of our conversation, what advice would you give entrepreneurs, more specifically entrepreneurs who want to venture into the horticulture or the agricultural business?
I would really love to talk about it in African context. If there is any person who is in Africa, first they should understand we are in a blessed continent. We are in a blessed continent, blessed with good weather. Africa is blessed with the labor force. We are almost a population, I think it's more than 2 billion people now, and majority is labor force. So if a person wants to go into agriculture, that's the right path, that's the right way. I think the most important thing is going into it by not just by going into it to do what our fathers, our grandparents have been doing, but going into it in a modern way, making sure that whatever we want to produce is meeting international standards so that we are becoming more competitive in the market. But also, instead of even looking outside Africa, let's look at our own population and the demand for food. And I think it poses an opportunity for many people to look at agriculture with a different eye, to go into it, to do so well, and to feed the world.
Right. I actually like how you mentioned at the very beginning, from the get-go, that you knew that this would succeed because people will always demand and people will always be in need of food. Ms. Hadija, it has been an honor having you on our show. It has been such an honor tapping into your knowledge and into your expertise, and I'm sure our audience have learned so much from you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share my story with my brothers and sisters in Namibia, but also in Africa and across the globe. I'm looking forward to visit Namibia one day.
Oh, we look forward to having you as well. Thank you so much, Ms. Hadija. It has been such an honor having Ms. Hadija Jabiri with us today in studio. I was inspired, and I believe you were inspired too. In order to make sure that you don't miss any of our inspirational videos that we always have on Scaling New Heights, please do make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember to give this video a thumbs up, and of course, do turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video.